everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We are continuing into our series on the clean energy transition and specifically focusing on hydrogen. And we focused on hydrogen the past few weeks because CO2 is a component of that hydrogen creation, or so we thought. We're really excited to have Hycamite here today. We have 3 members from the team, Niina, Matti, and Carolina, and they are going to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about who they are. Niina and Matti are 2 of the co-founders, so they have a new technology. They're based out of Finland, just unveiled the product, had a product launch in DC this month in October. October is a big month for hydrogen, so welcome to the podcast, everybody. We're so thankful to have you on.
Good afternoon. Good morning.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I think let's
well, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, and I've always said, hydrogen and carbon or CO2 are on parallel paths. When you have one, you have the other. And then I met these fine people here from Hycamite, and they said, no, you don't know what you're talking about. So this is outstanding. I mean, this is hydrogen. We totally believe in hydrogen for the energy transition, both here in the U.S. and across the world. And one of the biggest drawbacks to hydrogen currently is the amount of CO2 that is produced when you produce hydrogen. And so the Hycamite has a solution to that they're going to tell us all about. So please introduce yourselves individually, and then tell us all about your product, and ultimately want to hear about this launch last week in DC.
Great. Thank you, Luke. So if I start from the introduction, so pleased to meet everybody. Matti Malkamaki, I'm the one of the founders. We are 3. And the chair of the company. As a short background, so that I have more than 20 years of entrepreneurship in various clean tech companies, so that I've been around when the clean tech 1.0 was here as well, and now we are seeing that the new, so to say, rise of the clean tech businesses and the hydrogen especially. So this is really exciting times. Niina, would you like to continue?
Sure. Yeah. Nice to meet you all, and I'm happy to be here. And yeah, I'm Niina Gronqvist. I'm one of the 3 founders, as Matti already said, and my responsibility is the carbon. I'm VP for carbon products, and my background is in chemical engineering. I've been working in chemical industry like almost all of my career.
Hi, nice to meet you, Luke and Jeff. My name is Carolina Ahlstrand. I am the Business Development Director for Hycamite. As you can tell, I used to live in Houston, Texas before moving to Finland. My background is in business management and over 20 years of experience in oil and gas.
We've got Carolina up in the late hours, so thanks for joining us where there is no light and you're working, burning the midnight oil, but
short days this time of year, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, it's getting shorter the days. But you asked, or Luke, you said that the CO2 and the hydrogen are going together, and how we differ from that one. So if we're talking about, say, gray or blue hydrogen, so that you have the carbon capture technology, that is when you try to remove the CO2 from the streams, that way you are producing hydrogen. But we don't really do it that way. So what we have, this is like a pre-combustion or pre-use carbon capture, so that we split the methane, so that we have technology, we have a dedicated families of catalysts that have been developed from the 20 plus years of university research in Finland. And with these catalysts and a little bit of heat, we can split the methane molecule into 2. So we will have hydrogen molecules and we will have solid carbon. And this way the capture rate for the carbon is actually 100%, because you can't do the other without the other. And the solid carbon then can be used in other applications that Niina will tell later. Related to CO2 emissions, of course, everything has a CO2 emission. Even this podcast has a CO2 emissions. So we need to be aware that we calculate all the lifetime emissions of whatever production means of hydrogen. And this is something that where we have been putting a lot of effort, so that our understanding, as I think that is really very much on top of the world for the methane pyrolysis or the methane splitting technologies. We are working together with some German and some Finnish institutes for making the life cycle assessments on our carbon footprint. And the good part in our technology is so that we don't need power. So the power needs of our process are relatively small, and we can also use waste heat. So this all means that the carbon intensity of the power grid actually affects us very little, and only the upstream emissions of the methane needs to be calculated in.
So historically or traditionally, it's been steam methane reforming, and then we've got electrolysis, and there you're either burning the natural gas or burning the methane to release that carbon and release the hydrogen, or you're using electrolysis, electricity to separate. You're saying you just split the atom, so there is no burning off. You're not creating CO2 at all. You just have that carbon molecule from the CH4. Is that accurate?
Is it like fission almost, where you're splitting?
No, we don't actually split the atoms. I mean, this is not nuclear power, but
Can you work on that
but
next?
we
Yeah,
split
just
the
giving
molecule.
you guys an idea. If you're not busy enough with the product launch,
We split the molecule so that it is an old technology. I mean, splitting molecules. Oil refineries are doing that on the cracking processes and so forth. But we are just splitting the lightest hydrocarbon, the methane, into its original elements, so that we have then the solid carbon and the gaseous hydrogen. In that sense, this is a relatively new technology, or at least so that it has not been used before. I mean, there are some other companies doing a bit same, but our core competence, or our so to say benefits for those other technologies used, is that we have a very low temperature, so that we are well below 1,000 degrees of centigrade, and we don't need so much power. So that is the main differences of the process. And then, of course, for the carbon products, Niina will tell later something about those. We don't make any carbon black. So typically the question is always that, okay, what are you going to do with the carbon black? Because that market is only for the rubber tires and so forth, and you need to have big scale, like for example Monolith is doing. But in our case, we are making carbon nanoproducts, and these can be used in variety of different applications, and that actually will lower our footprint even more, because we are not only decarbonizing the companies that are using, or our customers that are using the hydrogen, but also the customers that are using our carbon products. And even more, there are some such carbon products that we can do that are being regarded here in the USA or in Europe being critical materials, i.e. they are being brought now from, say, China or from somewhere else, and now we can turn that production to be domestic. And I think that is a big added value for our technology.
So in this process, we've got a regional production of critical materials like carbon or other aspects
Correct.
of carbon.
Yeah.
We'll speak to those a little bit here in just a minute. So that's really interesting. And so take it back to the product. I know you're still just doing the product launch, so from the scalability of it, where are we expected to be relative on the cost of hydrogen produced relative to current standards or current expectations for blue or green hydrogen today in the market?
Well, this is a good question, but I would like to add something on that one, if you will, because hydrogen actually has like two features that we need to be interested on. One is the cost, and the other one is the value that it brings. The value, i.e. the carbon footprint, is something that is very important for the industrial customers. Our mission statement is that we decarbonize industry, and when we've discussed with the industry, practically the message is that, okay, we don't want hydrogen. We just need to have the CO2 emissions reduced, and if hydrogen can bring us the lowest cost of removed CO2 emission from our balance, then we are interested in hydrogen. But hydrogen as such is there's no value in it unless it provides the value. And therefore, we need to focus first that, okay, what is the added value from the hydrogen? And in our case, for example, when we are calculating with the average grid usage here in USA, the hydrogen value or the CO2 emissions of it, we are well below the low carbon hydrogen limits. And in that sense, we are really far better off than, for example, sometimes or quite often the so-called green hydrogen is. Regarding the costs, we have done a lot of calculations with our customers and with our investors. So we have investors from strategic investors from Japan, like Soshitz, and from some major oil and gas companies. So what we have calculated with them is that we have went to different market locations and took the cost of power there. We have took the cost of natural gas and seen that what kind of other technologies the customers can use. And so far, we've been the cheapest option always. So
of any SMR, any electrolysis, any fuel cell.
yes,
Outstanding. And
Yes.
without the inclusion of the rest of the life cycle analysis in there, just the production of the hydrogen is cost effective. That's great.
What is the typical amount of hydrogen produced? I mean, are we talking small regional usage? Are we making a lot of hydrogen in this process? What's common for your technology? I imagine there's a sweet spot.
As said, so that we want to decarbonize industry, so we go for big scale. The industrial scale demonstration unit that we are building now in Finland is having a nominal capacity of 2,000 tons per year. So that is like 5.5 tons per day, and that production, so to say, matches with the production of roughly 20 megawatts electrolyzer. So this is where we are now. Having said that, we think that this is on the lower end where we are capable to make the hydrogen very profitable. So we have customer cases where the customers or our partners are talking that, okay, we should actually go for much larger, like 500,000 ton plants and so forth. So we are talking about steel industry scale. And this is in a longer term, of course, our ambition, so that we can, take this whole, scale from say 2,000 tons per annum up to multiple hundreds.
Is the intent to produce hydrogen at mass scale level, or is it for localized use of that hydrogen, like at a steel mill, for their own purposes? And would you range that depending on the customer? You might need 5 tons per day or 5,000 kilograms a day.
Yeah, so the I mean, we go for industrial usages mostly. Having said that, I mean, of course there are like gas utilities that are also interested about this one, so that how to feed the hydrogen into their pipelines and so forth. So that's another story. But practically our key, so to say, competence area is in that sense that we don't need any infrastructure. So if we have a customer that is using natural gas now, we can simply put our unit next to that customer. Sometimes even on the same plot, and then just turn that natural gas into hydrogen as the customer needs, and we can decarbonize, them like immediately. The carbon then we can haul somewhere else. It goes with easily on a road or rail transportation, so that's not an issue. But then, and also because of the power need is so small, so that we don't need to have excess infrastructure in that as well. So this is like a decentralized hydrogen production, if you will, but it can be on a very large scale as well.
You validated different markets, and I'm going to come to Carolina then. With the launch in DC this past week and the focus on the United States. Is that your key growth sector? Is it the United States? Why is that? And I think we pride ourselves in kind of being on the forefront of hydrogen for new products production. We lag a bit. We lag Europe in decarbonization and CO2 capture. But really, it seems that the United States is going to be one of the first early adopters of hydrogen at scale. So I'm just curious, is that your focus market? What initiatives are you taking to establish footprint here in the U.S.?
So, if I may,
You absolutely may.
definitely. Thank you. So the United States is definitely one of our target markets. Worldwide, however, we do have different European and Japanese markets that we're looking into. Australia is also a big market. And regarding why the United States, well, obviously the IRA is a big incentive, not only for companies that are starting up like ourselves, but different states are welcoming us. Just to mention a few, the state of Virginia has been more than welcoming. They're facilitating everything for us to go there. We're at this very early stage where we are already in contact with possible partners in different states. Of course, just like Matti mentioned, the utilities, the pricing is something that we're still evaluating. But we do not disregard these other markets that I just mentioned because the technology is being welcomed, like I mentioned, worldwide. I think that talking about the United States and the launch and why we did it. So October the 8th is Hydrogen Day. And having said that, we were actually suggested or recommended, the Department of Energy recommended us attending the Hydrogen America Summit. And that's when we decided, let's go big, let's go bold, because that's the way things are done in the United States. And so we attended different events in Washington. So we attended Deploy 23, which was a first time event where the Department of Energy had meetings with private industry, DOE, and seeing, what does the DOE need to do to facilitate off-takers of hydrogen, because we know that hydrogen production is there, but where are the off-takers, right? And I'm going to let Niina talk a little bit about the carbon off-takers, because that's another different and interesting market. We attended, we're actually, if not lobbying, we're at that stage where we're meeting senators and people that are welcoming the technology per state. And so during this previous week to our launch, which I will tell you a little bit about that, we decided if October the 8th is on a Sunday, let's go bold and let's cover as many things as we can in Washington during that week. And so at the Hydrogen America Summit, we released our press release where our first letter of intent was signed with Northwest Natural, which is in Portland, Oregon. It's a very important natural gas company. And so immediately that validated our technology. So we are looking at 2024 as the year where things are going to start to happen physically for Hycamite. Just at the summit, for example, we had meetings with 5 other potential partners. I think that the availability, the efficiency, the scalability, the affordability that Matti mentioned is something that everybody's welcoming in the United States. And so we're also, just waiting for those guidelines that are to be released hopefully before the year ends.
Oh, you're optimistic.
So that we can.
Which year?
We're all.
Which year are you looking for this one?
Hopefully this one. It'll be a great Christmas present for sure.
Absolutely.
And so the launch was something that we wanted to celebrate Hydrogen Day, like I mentioned, in a big way, but also the Finnish embassy was so welcoming. So what they want is to put Finland on the map. Finland wants to be the producer of hydrogen 10% worldwide. So those statistics, they definitely served as a frame for our launch. The ambassador spoke great things about not only our technology, but how does Finland play a part in this whole thing. And I definitely want Niina to tell us about the carbon, because that's the outside. That's something pretty interesting.
Stay on that for just 1 second. That's really interesting. So why hydrogen? Why Finland? And when you say 10% of the production, are you talking about the technology for it, or to actually produce and export hydrogen to Europe, or both?
And with this, if you're exporting hydrogen, you're now exporting carbon with your technology. So we'll stay on the hydrogen, but transition to Niina on the carbon too.
Yeah, and when I said 10%, it means the entire production of hydrogen. So Finland wants to be on the map. They want to be the hydrogen producers.
Okay.
But I'll let Niina talk about the other important element here.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you. So if I start the whole business concept idea, when I start to talk about carbon, there are many misconceptions related to carbon. So people may think that when we talk about carbon, that we are talking about the carbon emissions, but we are talking now about solid carbon. And as Matti was mentioning, that conventional methane pyrolysis, that produces carbon black. And there is nothing wrong with that. However, it requires more energy, and you produce just one type of carbon. And the biggest difference compared to our technology is the catalyst, which is our innovation. And I think many people, when they hear our story, they start to think that, oh, why on earth exactly in Finland, and how on earth someone else has not invented this? And catalyst like development is not anything very rapid moving thing. It requires a lot of like research, and we have been doing dedicated work to this catalyst development for years, and actually even backing up for almost 20 years, because we have been working very closely with the University of Oulu. So that helped us in the beginning. We own all our innovations in that perspective. And the catalyst really determines what type of carbon products we produce. So Matti mentioned also already that our carbon is so-called nanocarbons. So we talk about carbon nanofibers, carbon nanotubes, and we are able to do also graphite. And if we don't want to have a chemistry lesson, which I start quite easily to talk, I will give you an example how we can also decarbonize the industry with our carbon, not only hydrogen. If we think about cement and concrete manufacturing, that is one of the biggest industries that are polluting or giving the CO2 emissions around the globe. And there has been a lot of research backing up the idea that adding the carbon to concrete or cement, you can either decrease the CO2 emissions, or you can enhance the performance of the cement and concrete. And actually what we are trying to achieve is that we do the both. So we are really investigating the characteristics, how we can like improve the performance of cement and concrete. And this is very we have received a very like interesting contacts from cement and concrete producers. Well, that's one thing. And then for example, if we think about transportation and cars that are moving to electric vehicles, like from the traditional automotives, in one electric vehicle, one lithium-ion battery contains about 120 pounds of graphite. And graphite is typically either mined from Asia, I'd say China, South America, quite a lot of outside USA, if we think about USA, but also outside Europe. And another thing which you could use instead of this natural graphite is that you could use synthetic graphite. And conventionally, synthetic graphite is developed from petroleum coke. Both these approaches are very energy intensive and also polluting. And we can actually replace those types of graphites with our graphite. So these are two like examples how we can help industries and also transportation to cut their CO2 emissions. There are many other fields as well, since we are very ambitious. We have planned to really grow big, and our focus market is the US, which means that we will manufacture the plants there, so we will be creating jobs, we will require partners and so on, but we will be producing a lot of hydrogen and even more carbon. That means that we don't want to put all the eggs to one basket, so to say, and we try to find as many applications where we can help with our carbon to decarbonize different industries and applications. So I could talk a long time about carbon. Please interrupt me and ask if you have any questions.
So like we go back to the graphite, you're offsetting the need to mine or produce carbon in some other way. So this carbon or carbon black that is being produced through your process is offsetting other production of that need. So it's a great byproduct because you're getting a double usage out of it.
Such a great point as we think about life cycle analysis.
Yeah.
And that's right where my head was at.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That is very, very, very fascinating.
Well, and I guess that would have been my one point of challenge is if we're looking at the LCA and, okay, at some point these products, if you were doing traditional tires, right, they get burned and there's emission there. But if you're doing concrete cement, if you're eliminating the need to produce and mine,
right,
I mean, I see how we now go net negative, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, from a business development perspective, are you more focused on pushing and selling the carbon? And the hydrogen's almost the byproduct of that. So there's obviously an outlet for hydrogen, but if you focus in on the carbon first, the hydrogen's just an offset there.
Well, again, from chemical point of view, hydrogen is very simple molecule. So we don't have to focus on like developing the hydrogen molecule because we get it from our reactor. We are happy with that. Maybe we need to purify to certain, like it depends on the customer whether they want very, very pure hydrogen gas or something a little less pure. But the carbon requires a little bit further development, and that's not only that, but also the catalyst, the whole processing technology. So we try to describe our process and our business concept very simple, but it's more complicated as it looks like. And I think that is the clue why we have been quite successful by far.
If I may jump in, I'm sorry. And if I may compliment
you
what
are
Niina
so
just
polite.
said.
I'm
raise
sorry.
your hand.
Please, yes. We would love to hear
So
from
polite. I mean, Niina is honestly selling her carbon short. I think that needless to say that she's already delivering samples worldwide. The carbon is being tested already because, like I said, I think that 2024 is a big year for Hycamite.
Yeah, that's kind of a great lead into my question. Where I was going to go is where are we at? So you had a product launch last week. You've been in existence 3.5-4 years now, right? I think you recently got some new venture capital raised. You mentioned some of the partners that are invested into that. Where are you at today, or 2024, as far as manufacturing, scaling up, new products, new markets, new customers? What's next for Hycamite?
So perhaps if I come here on that one. So you're right. So we just closed 25 million euro, about 28 million USD investment round, and with those monies we are now building the first industrial scale demonstration unit in Finland. The commissioning of that site will be at the end of the next summer. So, and this is also a good thing on our technology, so that we are actually able to make the sites pretty quickly. We usually don't have a long phase for getting the permits because we are going for industrial sites or industrial parks already. We don't need excess amount of different chemicals and so forth. So therefore, also the permits to build these sites is relatively straightforward. So related to what we have now launched as a press release, the news with Northwest Natural, obviously we have this and then some other similar projects happening here in USA. So the idea is that next year we are able to get some information out, so that we are building not just one but perhaps several different sites that are about the same size than what we are building now in Finland, so that we want to make that from that one like a commercial units that we will then have here in different hydrogen applications. You were asking about the which comes first, hydrogen or carbon, and it's actually in our name, so that Hyca, hydrogen carbon. So we need to first find the hydrogen customer, because we will put our plant next to the hydrogen customer, because we don't need any infrastructure, and the hydrogen has to be swiftly delivered to the customer. And then on the same time we need to find those carbon customers, but for the business development or the product development for the carbon, as Niina explained, is a little bit longer. So we are already now having those customers. We are shipping the carbon already to customers worldwide, and we are at the same time developing that business as well. So as Carolina said, next year will be a big year for us. We hope to see some really big announcements of new plants here, and also the carbon deliveries, so that how that goes, and so that we are able to start the collaboration with the local premium carbon customers as well.
That's exciting. That's great. Well, we're certainly. No, sorry. Your time.
Are you waving goodbye? Goodbye. Thanks for coming.
I was raising my hand.
We gotta break this habit.
Yeah.
We just talk over.
She's giving like the princess wave and hand raise. I don't know what that was. So elegant. Yeah.
You're from Texas. You just throw things.
The funding round is over. You don't have to do that anymore.
The fundraising
Never
ends.
stops. It's who she is. No.
Carolina.
Like I said, I'm getting into lobbying, so I need to
There
practice.
it is.
my way.
From one to the other.
But what I wanted to say also, and I think that it's very important that everybody's aware, we've had meetings with the Department of Energy, with the Loan Program Office, and we are ready. We have the checklist has been checked. When we scale up, it's going to be big because we will have their full support, and that has been emphasized. And that just tells you that our numbers, our costs, our efficiency are so good. So I really want to put that out there because I think that aside from the use cases gives us a credibility that not many Finnish companies or worldwide companies can have.
So who should be calling you? Who should be reaching out saying we need this today?
I'll leave that up to Matti, Niina.
Yeah, I can. I mean, building a startup company or bringing new technology to the market is not a race of having the biggest and boldest sites, in the beginning, but it's also a risk mitigation play. And therefore, what we are willing to have is that we go for such applications on different industries where the customer always has a backup solution. Because when you are dealing with a new technology, whether that's in hydrogen related to compression or membrane units or our methane splitting or even electrolyzers, there will be, in the beginning, always times that you need to have like this additional 1 week overhaul of a component. And because of that one, we need to find customers that have a backup solution. Industrial heat is a good example. So that if you have these stainless steel or steel factories where they have these industrial ovens where they are heating up their steel slabs, there they have now typically natural gas burners. So if we have a hydrogen burner or a modified burner that can burn both, we can use hydrogen there, so we can decarbonize the customer immediately. But if we need this one additional week of overhaul of something, then the customer still has a backup solution and we don't get any like liquidated damages or something like that one turned to our company. So we are seeking for that kind of applications first. And once we know that, okay, with that size buffer tank or storage capacities, we are able to deliver 24/7, 365 for, say, oil refineries, petrochemical industry, and so forth, where they don't have this backup possibility, then that's time to go for that kind of applications. But we need to be risk adverse. We still can do a lot with this approach, but
Yep, little crawl before you run, but learn as you go. So that's great stuff.
I guess for all of our followers, if you hate liquidated damages, reach out to Hycamite. They're looking for pilot locations. No, they're looking to scale quickly. But seriously, I mean, we're really interested.
Who likes liquidated damages?
Their inbox is going to blow up. There we go. So, but we really do appreciate your time and just the concept is so new and foreign to me. But clearly it is not new, and that's why you're out here getting your message, making the rounds, and becoming known. And we're happy to come alongside you and share this information because it's kind of the mission of the podcast is to get information out.
I'm excited about it. Want to follow along because you're solving multiple problems. I mean, first off, we lack hydrogen. Second off, we lack cost-effective hydrogen. Then you have the CO2 problem that comes along with the hydrogen. And the high amount of energy required to produce hydrogen, and you've kind of solved for all of those. On top of that, you've got a better mousetrap for carbon potentially. We're not having to mine, and you can use synthetics. So you're checking a lot of boxes.
And the most polite director of business development over there. So
executive team there is.
Before we wrap this up, I wanted to ask Matti, if he could explain to you a little bit. So we're talking about decarbonizing the industry, but Matti, would you mind telling them how we're planning on decarbonizing the marine?
Sorry, no, you broke up there.
The marine, I believe she said.
The marine.
Marine.
Marine applications. Okay. So that is a good question related to marine applications. I should have remembered this one when I was talking about the industrial cases. But onshore applications, they are really quite straightforward, and everybody's talking about that one. But the marine applications or the maritime industry is also having this need for decarbonizing themselves. And when you have a look on what IMO, for example, is now doing, so that they are launching regulation that will gradually lower the emissions until 2050 and so forth, so that when they want the whole shipping industry to be carbon neutral. And the problem is that if you have a lifetime of a ship between 20 and 30 years, and if you order now a ship, you can't order their technology that, you know, is carbon neutral in 25 years or 30 years. And this is a this is a big problem for the maritime industry. So what we have started with a company called Wärtsilä in Finland, a large OEM for engines, is that we turn LNG vessels into hydrogen vessels as they sail, so that we will put our technology on a ship. It will still have the LNG that they are filling in, and that LNG is being turned into hydrogen as the ship sails, and the carbon is being captured and stored on the ship, and when you come to the next harbor, it will be taken out. So this kind of solution is also under actually development in that sense, so that we are developing the product together with Wärtsilä for that one, and we'll hopefully have the first customers in some couple of years times that will start taking
And
it.
what engine manufacturer was that? Was that Wärtsilä or is that?
Yeah, Wärtsilä.
I was going to say that, Matti, it's Wärtsilä in the US.
Yeah.
When I first time heard that, I heard that. Did I hear Godzilla? What was it?
Godzilla's
Yeah.
taking over maritime
I'm trying
again.
to throw in the VW, the
Yeah.
Wärtsilä, but that's no good. It's just Wärtsilä here. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, a lot of experience back in the mid 2015 or 16 when making a lot of those conversions over to LNG on a lot of those, the fjords and some of those other
Yeah.
ships. So that's great to hear, because I know that's a big challenge is kind of decarbonizing that side of it and meeting the Tier 4 standards, I think, is what we're at too on some of their emissions that they have to control, and so that's exciting.
Yeah.
No, this is all exciting, and
Yeah.
we're certainly excited to have you all part of the United States Hydrogen Alliance, and look forward to working with you more and more as we go forward on this.
Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us today. And
Thank you.
Everybody be sure to reach out. Fantastic
Congratulations on
work.
the lounge.
Absolutely.
Lounge.
Lounge.
Thank
View
you.
the lounge.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.